Welcome again. I'm Archa, and we are on lesson number 2. In lesson number 1 of your Agile Practices Guide course, we covered an overview, a clear understanding of Agile, and then we also talked about the difference between traditional project management and Agile project management, overview of that, and then we talked a little bit about the project context as to what are the features of the project that uh, determine whether it has to be an agile approach or a traditional project management approach. Now, what are we going to cover in lesson number 2? In lesson number 2, we are going to further deep dive into Agile Manifesto. Now, what is that? Let me just change my screen here. Okay. So we will be talking about agile values, principles, and agile mindset. Now, agile, as we learned in the previous lesson, agile is a project management methodology and approach, a way of thinking, which is based on certain values, principles, and there are practices which we'll also talk about. Then we will talk about agile mindset, which is again very important in solving all the agile related questions that you'll have in your exam. So let's jump in. First things first, Agile Manifesto was formalized and published by thought leaders in software industry in 2001. I have already told about a little bit about its origin in my previous lesson. It was designed for agile software development, but now it is applicable in all types of project management. The pyramid that you are seeing here, it's very important. So agile values. What are agile values? Agile values are the core beliefs, the way of thinking which drives agile project management. What are the beliefs? Then on top of that you have principles. Now, what is the difference in values and principles? Values are the core beliefs, the way we think. Principles are actionable guidelines. Okay, so this is our belief. Based on this is the action that we will take. And then there is a whole set of practices which is actually doing the work. You must have heard of daily stand up, retrospective, all of those are agile practices. So first it is important to understand the values, then the principles, and then the practices. So agile mindset is built on 4 values, 12 principles, and a set of practices. Okay, first we will talk about, hang on, agile values. So there are 4 agile values as per the Agile Manifesto. You can find it online as well. I've taken from there. uh, the first one is individuals and interaction over processes and tools. Now, what does this mean? Processes and tools are important, aren't they? But what Agile says is you need to, it's the people who are driving the processes and tools, they are more important. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. While tools and processes are important, it's the people involved and their ability to collaborate effectively is what drives performance and drives results. So that is important. We prioritize face to face communication, one on one communication between people, and teamwork to solve problems quickly and efficiently. So how do you use that value in your exam? So whenever you see questions where there is a complex problem in an agile project and there is some confusion, there's some lack of clarity, you will find that always your correct answers will be those which involve one-on-one communication, people coming into a room and talking about it and collaborating. So that's what we mean by individuals and interactions. Okay, now the second one is working software over comprehensive documentation. In traditional projects, a lot of time is spent on creating detailed documentation, which is important in its own context. While documentation has its place, Agile emphasizes delivering functional software early and frequently. So the value is delivered faster because real value is in that and not in the paperwork. The next one is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Now, what do we mean by that? Instead of focusing on rigid contracts, we value close collaboration with our customers. Why are we doing the work? To provide value to the customers. So their feedback matters. Ensuring they are always aligned to their goals. That's the key spirit of Agile. The last one, the fourth one, is responding to change. Again, very important, and I talked about it in the previous lesson as well. Agile, the word means flexibility. So we are more responsive to changes, responding to change over following a plan. In Agile, we accept that change is inevitable. Rather than sticking rigidly to a plan, we embrace change and adapt to it, making sure the project remains relevant and successful in fast moving environments. So, flexibility, individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, responding to change over following a plan. Knowing these values will help you not only apply agile practices in the right way, but also look at your questions in the exam. Since I keep talking about the exam because uh, I'm assuming that most of you are preparing for the exam. So when you have a question in front of you, always try to think of these values, and it'll be easier for you to get your answers. Okay. Now we talked about agile values, four values. Based on them are agile principles. Now, what did I tell you? Agile principles are actionable guidelines derived from the values. Okay, so they are based on the values, but they are more action oriented. So let's look at them. First one is our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. That is our priority in Agile. Now, what do we mean by that? Break your project into short cycles. Deliver working software, working features early, and keep adding value, because value is the most important thing, in small usable increments. For example, instead of waiting for a full year for an app launch, so say you're making a digital banking app, so waiting for the entire year and launching the full app, you can release basic account functions first, and then you can keep adding features like transfers, bill payments, just an example. So that is what we mean by this. Now, the second one is welcome changing requirements even late in development. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. Now, what do we mean by that? We mean that be open to changes. Again, it goes back to the values, the fourth value we were talking about, being open to changes. Be open to changes even after starting, even after you have started this. So you don't have to consider all the changes upfront. Even when you have started the project, be open to changing to stay aligned with customers' need, because that is what is important. There's no point creating a product which is not of no use and relevance to your customer. So that is what we mean by that. So if halfway through the app development customer asks that, oh, I don't want, so you're making, again, I keep talking about the banking app, so they say that instead of password and username, we want biometric login. So you take into account that and make it work for your customer. The third one is deliver working software frequently, from a couple of weeks to a couple of months, with a preference to the shorter time scale. Now, this is very important. There is a very important element of Agile, which is your time boxes. We call them sprints or iterations. We'll talk about them in detail later on. But this is the principle that guides that practice. Okay, so what do we mean by that? Break your projects into short cycles, delivering small pieces of working software often. So, for example, every 2 weeks you deliver a new feature of an e-commerce platform that you're building, such as product browsing, then checkout, later payment integration. So you keep delivering as you go, and you can do it faster when you have time boxed your work. Okay. The fourth one is business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. Business people are people which know the business, which know what is needed, which are clear about the requirements, the subject matter experts, as we call them. Ongoing collaboration between the people who know the business is very important. Business needs need to be clarified, and the tech team that is building the solution. So collaboration between them is very important. So daily check-ins between, say, marketing app and developers. I'm just taking a random example. If you're developing a campaign launch, mobile app based campaign launch, so the marketing team and the developers team need to collaborate daily as to what is happening, what is needed. Moving on to the fifth principle, build projects around motivated individuals. Give them environment and support that they need and trust them to get the job done. So, self motivating team is a very important element of Agile. Build projects around motivated individuals. Give them the environment and support they need to, and trust them to get the job done. What does this mean? Is trust the team to deliver great results, empower them, remove the blockers. You'll keep hearing that. Give them the tools and environment to do their best work. If your team is motivated to solve a complex data analytics problem, if they have this skill set, then trust them. Provide them with the right software and support and autonomy to innovate. This will help you with the questions where, again, there is a complex problem. Who is the best person to solve it? Is someone who is directly involved in the work, is your team members. Okay. The next one is sixth. The most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is face to face conversation. Agile promotes face to face, in person conversation or over digital communication. So that is very important. The most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within the development team is face-to-face conversation. Direct, real-time conversations are more efficient than emails or documents. Again, looking at it from a exam point of view, if you have questions where there is a problem and there are possible solutions, if you see a solution which is talking face-to-face, getting the team together to solve the problem and conflicts, that's your answer. Okay. The next one is working software is the primary measure of progress, value. A project is only successful when the software works. Okay, so that is the value that we believe in, not just when tasks are completed. So that's not important. How tangible is the result, that is also important. It doesn't matter how many features are planned or partially built. What counts is how many features are actually usable by the customer. Now the eighth one is agile processes promote sustainable development. What do we mean by that? The sponsors, developers and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. What do we mean by that? That don't overload your team. In simple words, maintain a steady work pace without burning out the team. Instead of pushing for unsustainable, unmanageable deadline, something which is not realistic, the team commits to releasing one feature every 2 weeks, ensuring a healthy work-life balance. We will see this element in when we talk about agile planning as well. That brings us to the ninth principle, continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. Attention to technical excellence and good design. Focus on quality code and design to stay adaptable and make future changes easier. We'll talk a little bit more about this when we talk about cleaning your codes and keeping it simple, and there are certain techniques. In agile development, agile planning, we'll talk about them. A developer, so refactoring is another concept. I don't want to talk about it right now, we'll talk about it later. Just was giving you an example. A developer refactors old code regularly to avoid future issues. Cleaning of codes in simple terms, when new features are added, keeping them flexible. Anybody should be able to work on a code which is, so one team member develops the code, any team member should be able to understand and pick it up. Okay. The next one is simplicity. The art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. We will talk about the burn up and burn down charts, and that's the this principle relates very directly with those concepts. Keep things simple by focusing on the most essential feature. Example, instead of adding unnecessary bells and whistles, as we call them, to an app, focus on the core functions like user login, payment, avoiding extra unused features. Again, the most important value to the client, features that bring the most value. The next one is the best architectures, requirements, and design emerge from self organizing teams. Micromanaging is not endorsed by Agile. Teams that organize themselves come up with better solution than those with rigid hierarchies. For example, a project team given the freedom to decide how to work develops an innovative way to integrate two systems faster than if they were micromanaged. So you don't want to curb the creativity that people have. And again, this principle comes in handy when we talk about a risk analysis, and when we talk about planning, and a risk adjusted backlog, and all these concepts will come later on. The last one that we have is, at regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly, adjusting, course correcting based on feedback and observation. Keep improving by learning from each sprint. Sprint is the time box, okay? And adjusting how the team works. After each 2 weeks sprint, the team holds a retrospective. You must have heard about it. We'll talk about it in detail. Retrospective is directly related to this principle, where we talk about looking at your own performance as a team and course correcting, finding better ways to improve your performance. So these are the agile principles. I hope they were clear to you. I kept it simple and clear. If you have any questions, please drop in comments, and I'll see you in lesson number 3, where we talk about agile practices and agile mindset in detail. Till then, have a good day. Bye bye.